Ahead and call the Senate back to order. Sergeant Arms will please secure the chamber doors. Members, please take your seats. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. President.
All right. We will substitute the prior legislative day's invocation for this evening's. Has everyone recorded their presence in the chamber? If so, the clerk will take the call. With 39 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland is again back in session. Any guests before we start? Any announcements before we begin? We're going to try to power through as much as we can, see what we can do here. But if there's no announcements, let's just jump in it. All right. So we consider the reading of the journal from the prior legislative day. We've got a message from the House, number 11. Clerk will read the message.
Senate Bill 8, Senator Hester, Criminal Law, Identity Fraud, Artificial Intelligence, Deep
Majority Leader moves so we consider the reading of the bills. We have some first reading House bills. Clerk will read the bills.
House Bill 145, Delegate Feldmark, Election Law, Election Misinformation, Deep Fakes,
Majority
Rules.
Leader moves so we consider the reading of the bills. They will be referred to the Rules Committee. Let's go ahead and get these messages started. All right, let's do, we've got, this is Senate Bill 159. These are not concurs. Get them out over here. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 159, Senator A. Washington, Emergency Medical Services, Vehicles, and Ambulance Required Supplies. House will not recede. Agree to a conference committee.
So, recognize the Senator for the bill sponsor.
Thank you. The Senate will accept this because of the changes are technical. We move to.
Well, I think we're doing it. I think this is a conference committee one.
Oh.
Is that right? Why don't we do this? We'll special order this one. We'll special order this one for 15 minutes. So we'll just. Can we? Okay. All right. If there's no objections, we'll special order this for 15 minutes so that we can figure this out. All right. Let's see. Where is this one? I should have noticed who is not here yet. So this.
Just a message.
All right, so we have House Bill 154. Clerk will read the bill and the message.
Senate Bill 514, no. I don't have the right ones. There we go. House Bill 154, Delegate Corman, Open Meetings Act, County Board of Education, Enhanced Requirements. By the Majority Leader, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the House of Delegates refuses to concur in the Senate amendments. Respectfully request the Senate recede from its position. Should the Senate prefer a conference committee to confer on the disagreeing votes of the two houses, the House appoints Delegate Ebersol Chair, Delegate Vogel, Delegate Hornberger. Said bills returned herewith by order Sylvie Siegert, Chief Clerk.
All right. Let's see.
President?
Yes, recognize the Vice Chair of the Committee.
Yes, sorry, I was working on another bill. We were so threatened by the members of the proposed conference committee that the Senate decided to recede and accept the Senate version, the House version of the bill. So move adoption of the
Well, first, give us just one moment. We have
Sure.
the first message that was read, and we've order that message journalized. That's what it is. There we go. So we just had to read the message and journalize it. We now have recognized the vice chair who has asked us, these are the fun ones, right? So our and by fun ones, I mean the worst ones. These are the worst.
Nah.
So here's what we've heard that the Senate would like to recede.
Yes, sir.
So we are going to make a motion to reconsider the bill by which it passed its third reading.
Yes, that is exactly what we will
All
do.
right, Chair moves,
Could we
Vice Chair moves
please
that we...
reconsider the bill by which the vote by which it passed third reading in the Senate?
All right, any objections? Any objections? Without objection, so ordered.
And now, Mr. President, if we could please recede from our position so we can accept a favorable report on House Bill 154.
Unfortunately, we have to take off the amendments first, so we're going to have to move to reconsider the amendments by which that passed the Senate.
I have no folder. I think I'm going to defer to the chair. No, I'm not. He's going to hand me the folder. Thank you. I just want to say the right words. Okay. The House, nope, that's not it.
So we could just reconsider the amendments by which the amendments that passed the Senate.
Indeed, we would like to remove the amendment that passed the Senate so
All right.
that we can pass it in the way that the House is recommending, so the House and the Senate are identical.
So we would, if we reconsider the motion by which the amendments were adopted, are there
Mr.
objections?
President, I do have
Yes.
an objection.
Recognize the minority whip.
The body just yesterday voted, or maybe it was Wednesday, it all runs together now, voted for the amendment to conform this bill, the Senate bill, to the posture we passed it originally, which had a very well-tailored amendment, and the body voted 22-20 to put that amendment back on the bill. And now we're not a surprise that we're caving into the House, but we're caving into the House just to remove a little technical amendment because they don't want to make it, because the House apparently doesn't want to have make it very clear that a school board can't decide to delete out part of a video because a parent is exposing something the school system is handing out. That's why they don't want that amendment, I guess. And this is now the third time we got this amendment on. Once it was a friendly. The second time we did it by force, thanks to so many of my colleagues here in this chamber. We put an amendment on the bill, and now, like a day later, we've said, no, never mind. We're not gonna fight for an amendment the Senate voted for, an amendment that just improves transparency. This amendment is literally a pro-transparency amendment, just to make it clear that we're letting you delete something that's pornographic or unsightly, but we're not going to let you delete something that just because it embarrasses you that the school system, handed out. And I don't anticipate this would happen very often, by the way, but it's been in the news, it's happened. So if we're going to say that you have an exception school board, that you're going to record your meetings, which is good, which you can't censor them, except for you can censor them. You can censor them in this case if a student's info is revealed, which of course that makes sense. But they also said you can censor if something pornographic or obscene happens. My amendment very simply just said, hey, that's great, just you can't say that if somebody's holding up something that the school system handed out, you can't say, oh, that's pornographic or obscene. So that was what the amendment was, and I really appreciated the bipartisan consensus here twice in the Senate to put that amendment on the bill, and now the House has said twice they don't want to take it, and now we're going through the histrionics of just simply like having to strip a bunch of stuff off the bill. So I'm
Okay, Senator.
quite upset, Mr. President, and I think that, honestly, I'll be honest, it's we've caved in. We've caved in on the energy bill. We're caving in on a lot of stuff. We ought to stand and fight on this, and do it. The Senate voted a floor vote. You don't approve Republican floor amendments by vote very often. It was pretty. Mr. President, I resist the motion to reconsider the amendments. I think that's the motion I need to make. I resist it.
Okay.
It would be requesting a roll call vote on the motion to reconsider the amendments as they were adopted, the reconsideration of the amendments. That would be.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Yes.
So once
Recognize
again,
the Vice
Mr.
Chair.
President, I'm a little flat-footed here. Don't have the folders or any The gentleman mentioned that this body has voted twice. Once it was accepted as a friendly amendment because we thought it might be a friendly amendment, but the House thought otherwise. They thought it was unnecessary. We already allow our local boards of education to edit out anything that's inappropriate, and they thought that this was too prescriptive, and the committee had a full conversation on it, had a full debate, and voted once again, a second time, for the first time actually, on this amendment in committee, and voted to recede, voted not to take the amendment today. And so that's why that is the will of the body. This is about transparency, but offering some guardrails so that people at home are not exposed to anything that they shouldn't see. They can edit out any personal information, any privacy information. They can edit out anything related to anything inappropriate that students or people at home shouldn't see, and that's what this bill does without the amendment. We resist the amendment and ask the body to join us in receding to the House so we can continue to make our 24 school board meetings transparent.
All right, recognize the senator from District 4 on the motion to reconsider the amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I could ask the floor leader a question.
Senator may proceed.
Of course.
So what prescriptive language is in this legislation to give the autonomy to these school boards to determine what is
Right.
something that would be okay or not?
Mr. President, this is a fair question. Could we special order this for 15 minutes so that I can get the folder, have the paper in front of me, and give better answers?
Sir, any objections to the motion to special order, the
Thank
motion
you.
to
I
reconsider?
appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, without objection, the motion to reconsider the amendment will be special ordered to the appropriate time in 15 minutes. All right, let's go to not something that controversial. Let's go to not concur, but we'll see. Senate Bill Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 514, Senator Smith, criminal law, third degree assault by the majority leader. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the House of Delegates does not recede in the House amendments to the Senate bill and agrees to a conference committee to confer on the disagreeing votes of the two houses. The Senate has appointed Senator Smith chairman, Senator Love, Senator West. The House appoints Delegate Moon chair, Delegate Cardin, Delegate Valentine. Said bills returned herewith by order Sylvia Siegert, Chief Clerk.
Message having been read is ordered journalized. That is just a message, correct? We've already adopted. Okay, great. Conference committee will be set up there. Let's go to,
Mr. President,
yes, recognize Senator from District 12.
could I make a quick introduction?
Please.
The sound upstairs reminded me that if I could ask the body to give a warm Senate welcome to 10-month-old Naomi Jackson, who's the daughter of Catherine Jackson from Costa, who's visiting the rear gallery today.
Welcome, welcome. Beautiful baby. Beautiful baby. Love it. Wonderful. Teach you real parliamentary procedure here today. All right, let's go to the second readers. Let's do second readers. We'll go to Finance Committee, report number 58. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 504, Senator Lamb, Data Privacy, Consumer Data, Public Records, Message Switching System, favorable with two amendments.
Recognize the senator from District 12.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 504, as amended, modifies the Online Data Privacy Act, the Maryland Public Information Act, provisions of law governing access to law enforcement databases, and provisions of law governing the protection of personal records by government entities to enhance the protection of an individual's personal data, specifically to prevent the personal data from being obtained and used for immigration enforcement. There are two amendments. The First Amendment is technical. The Second Amendment conforms the bill to its House cross-file Move the adoption of 2 committee amendments and favorable committee report.
Floor leader move for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 504 is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 790, Senator Lamb, Public Health Reform Act, favorable with 2 amendments.
Recognize the senator from District 12 as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 790, as amended, is identical to House Bill 1109. The bill alters the membership, duties, leadership, and staffing of the Commission on Public Health. It extends the Commission's termination date and requires the Department of Health to provide quarterly updates on implementation of the Commission's recommendations. The Commission, in consultation with the Department of Health and the Health Services Cost Review Commission, must convene a Community Benefits Modernization Subcommittee with associated reporting requirements. The bill also, number 1, requires the Department to organize the Maryland Medical Reserve Corps and makes alterations to the Corps. Number 2, it requires the Department of Legislative Services to develop a process to assess the health equity impacts of relevant legislation. Number 3, it makes administrative changes related to county health officers and local health departments. Number 4, it requires the Maryland Department of Health to consult with local health departments and notify each health officer of certain requirements. Number 5, it requires the department to convene a work group on local health department recruitment and classification processes. And lastly, number 6, it alters the membership of the Maryland Corps Program Advisory Board. There are 2 amendments. The first is technical. Amendment 2 authorizes the Secretary of Health and the Deputy Secretary for Public Health Services to delegate certain authority under certain circumstances, requires the Commission to establish a Community Benefits Modernization Subcommittee, and finally, it requires the Maryland Department of Health to convene a certain work group. I move the adoption of 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 790 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Let's go to 59 out of Finance, report number 59. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 191, Delegate Wims, Consumer Protection, Retail Transaction for Essential Consumer Goods, Cash Payments, favorable with 2 amendments.
Recognizing the senator from the 19th District as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, House Bill 191 generally establishes that a merchant may not prohibit a person from using cash to pay for an essential consumer good defined generally as food, water, fuel, personal hygiene products, and health products. A merchant similarly may not require the use of a debit or credit card to pay or charge a higher price or fee for using cash when purchasing an essential consumer good. Perhaps specie is an option. Amendment 1 is technical. Amendment 2 establishes that the bill is only applicable between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. There is no fiscal impact. Mr. President, I move the amendments and the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any? Yes, recognize senator from District 7.
Thank you. Mr. Floor leader, yield for a quick question.
Floor leader yield. Senator may proceed.
So just kind of listen to what you were saying. So what were the times that it was exempt from?
The time that it's exempt is overnight, so the bill is only applicable between 6 o'clock in the morning and 10 o'clock at night. It is not applicable overnight.
And so you're saying, and it deals with fuel also for gasoline. Is that would you consider fuel essential consumer?
It is considered an essential consumer good.
Okay, so what about like a fuel station where like a truck would go fuel up? Because I know some commercial trucks, you know, you have these fuel centers where there's no cashier and you just have a credit card that they swipe. What about something like that?
I'm not familiar with stations that may be closed, but pardon me one moment. There is an exception in the bill. So there's an exemption for membership fuel, like Costco, but that is the only exemption.
Okay, but you know, like a tractor trailer has saddle tanks. They hold 150 gallons. At $4 a gallon, that's a couple $100. Where somebody usually doesn't carry that much cash around. They usually carry a credit card, and normally they go into some of these fuel centers where they don't do cash transactions. I know we're saying, hey, you got to carry cash. There was no
And it is
consideration.
only applicable to purchases up to $300. So I'm guessing perhaps in the example that you are seeking
So
to
$300.
discuss, there's a good likelihood with a
Okay.
truck buying that kind of volume of fuel.
Okay,
that
not know there was an exempt
not
up
be
to 300.
applicable.
And you say there are exemptions in there in this
Correct.
bill? Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. All right, Senator from the 42nd District.
Thank you, Mr. President. The floor leader indicated that payment could be made in specie. Under what circumstances would merchants be required to accept gold bars in payment for goods or services
If
under
they
this
can
bill?
fit in the slot.
It's going to be one of those nights.
Great
One of those
big
nights.
gold bars are a no-go.
Okay. So I'm a merchant, and I'm a local merchant in Baltimore County along York Road, and I sell shoes and shoelaces and shoe horns and things like that. How am I going
There's
to...
a market for that, I understand.
I think there is. I actually patronize places like this occasionally. You wouldn't know to look at my shoes, but occasionally I do buy shoes. So how is a merchant going to find out about all the requirements of this bill in order to be able to comply with the bill and not be cited? And it looks like the penalty could be $500 for failing to comply. How would I find out this bill exists if I'm a merchant?
The bottom line is it simply provides that the merchant accept cash, because there are many consumers who do not have access to credit and credit cards. So the goal here, and to be perfectly frank with you, I don't believe shoes and shoe horns are considered essential consumer goods, as is food, water, fuel, and personal hygiene products.
Okay. So I'm looking at a section of the bill. It's on page 4.
Additionally, just to your question earlier, there are 2 swings and a miss on this. You can have 2 strikes. The Attorney General just gives notification if there should be a complaint filed because the merchant did not accept cash. There are warnings before the fine becomes applicable.
I'm just worried we're loading up our small businesses with one requirement after another. In our committee, each year we must pass 4 to 8 bills that require landlords to do this, that, and the other thing, so much so that the landlords have to hire full-time attorneys to figure out what all their legal requirements are. And I'm concerned that we're going to do this. We're starting down the same road with respect to our small businessmen, the merchants who operate little establishments along our thoroughfares.
No, and I appreciate that, and I would say overwhelmingly the majority do accept cash.
Well, in that
and would do so willingly.
In that regard, I'm looking at this
be happy
section of the bill that's on page 4 that says a merchant may prohibit a person from making a cash payment for the purchase of a consumer good in a cash denomination greater than $20. So here you're telling the merchant don't accept cash because the cash you're offering is in denominations that are too high. I mean, it sounds like the merchants are being put on the horns of the dilemma. Either they do one thing or they do another, and no matter which one they choose, they're in trouble.
I don't think that that's a realistic scenario where we're going to be finding the Attorney General seeking to, look for people out there who may or may not necessarily have complied entirely. And at the end of the day, again, they get a warning so that they understand exactly what the law is. If somebody should complain that they went and tried to purchase their food products using cash, and we're told, no, we don't accept cash payments. And once again, I would proffer to you that the overwhelming majority of our small businesses, big businesses, welcome cash.
Well, let me just ask one more question. I'm looking at this part of the bill. Here's what it says. If a merchant may prohibit a person from making a cash payment for the purchase of a consumer good if the merchant, A, provides and maintains a device on the premises of the establishment that converts cash into a prepaid card that a person may use to purchase a consumer good at the establishment, B, does not charge any fee or require deposit, and C, if the device malfunctions or becomes inoperable, accepts payments in cash in accordance with this section until the device resumes normal operations. How in the world is a shoe store on York Road in Timonium going to know all these niggly-piggledy details of this law, and if they fail to follow the law, it's going to cost them up to $500?
Once again, your shoe and shoehorn store, shoehorn sales would not apply or be affected by this legislation, but the fact of the matter is there are circumstances where merchants provide machines that do convert cash into a card of some sort, and if the merchant chooses to do that, that is perfectly acceptable, so that they can take that payment in lieu of cash at the transaction. So this is just providing another alternative to the merchant, so that if they don't want to take the cash in hand, they can have the machines which exist. The customer puts the cash in, they get their card, now the transaction is utilized through the card. So this actually gives the merchant additional alternatives.
Okay, Mr. President, on the bill.
On the bill, Senator.
Just briefly, we've gone down the road quite a ways in terms of restricting A, landlords, and B, condominium owners, the owners of condominiums, with bill after bill after bill after bill over my 8 years down here. And people are crying uncle. I see this as the first step to go down that same road with respect to small businesses, loading down all sorts of small requirements that are not intuitive to apply to small businesses and give them stiff fines if they fail to comply. I think it's a bad idea, and I intend ultimately to vote against the bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. All right, on the two amendments, we're going to hear from the senator from the 39th
President.
District.
I just want to add that the reason for this bill, to start with, we have a lot of people in our district. We have 25,000 people that lost their federal jobs. We have so many people that have lost their jobs. They have now charged their credit cards up as far as they'll go and can't get any more. And so they have to be able to use cash, because that's all anybody's accepting. If they can't get bank accounts, they can't, whatever. So they're needing cash. And that's the impetus of this bill.
All right, recognize Senator from the 35th District.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would the floor leader yield for a quick question?
Senator may proceed.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So sports stadiums, like some of them I believe are talking about going cashless or already have gone cashless.
I'm sorry, what?
Sports stadiums, so like Oriole
sports
Park,
stadiums, gotcha.
Raven Stadium. So are they exempt from this bill?
That's a good question.
Because I mean, you have people going there, purchasing food and drinks.
Stadiums, and we're going to verify that, are not under the definition of merchant, but give us 1 second. Council is looking at that to see if they can verify, but I believe that is the answer. They're not considered merchants.
Okay, are we going to find that out before we finish accepting this report, Mr. President? Need a special word for 15 minutes or something?
We could lay it over. I mean, if
Yeah, let's just lay it over then. That'd be fine. Give them time to figure it out.
I think
Okay.
that would be fine,
Okay.
Mr. President,
All right.
if we were to lay it over to get the answer to that question.
Okay, bill and the amendment will be laid over under the rule. Clerk will read the next bill. Clerk will read the next bill. Nope.
House Bill 564, Delegate Allen, Pet Cremation and Burial Services Requirement, Pet Cremation and Burial Services Consumer Protection Act, favorable with one amendment.
Recognize the senator from the 22nd District.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before I begin, I would like to just make the first announcement as the representative of NASA Goddard that's in my district in Prince George's County that the Artemis II mission has officially landed after the mission around the moon.
Thank you for that. That's awesome. Very cool.
Yeah, I was watching it a little bit. Thank you, Mr. President. This bill establishes consumer protection and disclosure requirements for certain registered or permanent individuals in the death care industry that sell pet cremation services. The bill also establishes certain duties for people that return pet cremains. A violation of this bill is an unfair, abusive, or deceptive trade practice under the Consumer Protection Act and subject to enforcement under the Act in addition to other criminal and civil penalties. Amendment number 1 is technical, and I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
All right, floor leader moves to the adoption of the one committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the one committee amendment is adopted. Question now on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any amendments, further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 564 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 711, Delegate Charkoudian, David Privacy, Consumer Data, Public Records and Message Machine Systems, favorable.
Recognize the senator from District 12.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 711, as amended, is identical to Senate Bill 504 that we just heard about 20 minutes ago. Move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 711 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 894, the Speaker, Land Use, Transit-Oriented Development Alterations, favorable with two amendments.
Recognize the vice chair of the committee as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 894 is an administration bill that is amended is substantially the same as Senate Bill 389 as it passed the Senate unanimously earlier this session. The bill makes several changes to the state law related to transit-oriented development in general. The bill authorizes the Maryland Department of Transportation to lead development and planning for projects on land that is contiguous to certain rail transit stations and owned by the state, Baltimore City, or WMATA. The bill also authorizes the designation of a TOD as an enterprise zone, restricts certain local and land use authority for TOD products, and generally requires the excise tax and impact fees be collected at the end of a project as specified. Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 is generally conforming. I move the amendments and adoption of favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the two committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the two committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 894 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Let's go to, stay with finance, number 60, calendar 60. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 272, Chair of Health, Food Establishment Laboratory Requirements, On-Farm Food Service, Faculty License, favorable.
Recognizing the senator from District 5 as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 272 is a departmental bill which alters the definition, duration, and license fee for an on-farm food service facility. The bill outlines requirements for the adoption of regulations related to on-farm food service facilities and expands the type of portable toilets that can be used in conjunction with food service related to agritourism. There are no amendments, and I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
All right, floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 272 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 558, Prince George's County Delegation, Prince George's County, Alcoholic Beverages, Wine Festival Licenses, favorable.
Recognize the senator from the 22nd as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill renames the Prince George's County Wine Festival license to be the Wine Festival license and makes conforming changes. The bill authorizes the Prince George's County Board of License Commissioners to issue multiple licenses, festival licenses annually by repealing the previous limit on one license the board was authorized to issue each year. The bill also repeals a provision that prohibited the board from issuing licenses in the Great 24th Legislative District. There are no amendments, and I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 558 is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 611, Prince George's County Delegation, Prince George's County, Alcoholic Beverages, favorable with 2 amendments.
Recognizing the senator from Prince George's.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 611 increases annual fees, application fees, and license transfer fees for various alcoholic beverages licenses. There are 2 amendments. Amendments number 1 is technical. Amendments number 2 prohibits the board from issuing, transferring, or renewing certain licenses or permits unless the applicant or transferees meet certain ownership requirements. The amendment also prohibits certain license holders in a district other than 23rd Legislative District from displaying certain advertisements or promotional materials for alcoholic beverages, tobacco, or vaping products. I move the adoption of the amendments and the favorable committee reports on this local bill.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments, the favorable committee report on the amendments. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 611 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 1081, Delegate Corman, Maryland Transit Administration Reform Act, favorable with 2 amendments.
Transit recognizes the vice chair of the committee as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 1081 as amended makes changes to the structure, authority, and responsibility of the Maryland Transit Administration by repealing the by repealing the Baltimore Regional Transit Commission and instead establishing the Board of Directors for Baltimore Core Transit Service and Community Service Advisory Board. Additionally, we must contract with the Baltimore Metropolitan Council to complete a technical study regarding the creation of a rail authority. There are 2 amendments. Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 strikes the provision of the bill relating to procurement, quick take, and torque caps. I move the amendments and adoption of favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report on the amendments. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1081 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 1533, Delegate Alston, Public Health Cosmetic Products Enforcement Penalties for Prohibited Ingredients, favorable with 2 amendments.
Recognizing chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 1533 is in the same posture as Senate Bill 656, which we passed earlier today. There are 2 amendments. Amendment 1 is technical. Amendment 2 strikes provisions creating the Harmful Hair Chemicals Restitution Fund and instead directs the Maryland Department of Health and the Office of Attorney General to develop a plan. I move the amendments and the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1533 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Let's go to Finance 61. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 1087, Delegate Johnson, Healthcare Facilities, Surgical Smoke Evacuation Systems, favorable.
Recognize the senator from the 19th District.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 1087 requires each healthcare facility that performs surgical procedures to adopt and implement policies by January 1, 2028 that require the use of a smoke evacuation system during a surgical procedure that may generate surgical smoke. There are no amendments, there's no fiscal impact, no opposition at the committee hearing. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1087 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 1109, Chair Health, Public Health Reform Act, favorable with 2 amendments.
Recognize the senator from District 12.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 1109 is identical to the Senate Bill 790 that was just adopted by this body earlier on second reader. This implements the recommendations of the Commission on Public Health. There were 2 amendments. The first is technical. The second also conforms to the Senate bill. Move the adoption of 2 committee amendments to the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves the adoption of the 2 committee amendments in the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1109 hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 1284, Delegate Gazone Residential Service Agencies Private Duty Nursing On-Site Nurse Training Programs, favorable.
Recognize the senator from District 8.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 1284 requires the Department of Health to adopt regulations that authorize a residential service agency to provide training to a specified licensed nurse after hire. An RSA that provides private duty nursing services may employ a licensed nurse who does not meet clinical experience requirements if the RSA provides specified training and a competency evaluation. The training program and the competency evaluation are subject to approval by MDH. The bill may not be construed to affect requirements relating to occupational licensure, scope of practice, or standards of care. There are no amendments. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
All right. Floor leaders move for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objection? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1284 is hereby ordering passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 1434, Delegate McCaskill, Maryland Department of Health Caregiver Resource Webpage, established, favorable.
Recognizing the Vice Chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 1434 requires the Department of Health to develop a maintained and centralized caregiver resource webpage. There are no amendments. There is no fiscal impact. There was no opposition at the committee hearing. I move the adoption of favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1434 is ordered passed for third reading. Let's go to Education, Energy, and the Environment, 4848. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 949, Senator Kagan, Election Law Canvassing of Absentee Ballots, Preemption by Federal Jurisdiction Action, favorable with 2 amendments.
Recognizing Vice Chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I think you've all heard about the White House, the Supreme Court, executive orders, court cases talking about the federal government trying to take over our elections. In the Constitution, it's clear that states are in charge of elections. There is one part, though, which is our federal races, where the feds can weigh in, and there is a pending court case. This emergency bill will go into effect only in case of an executive order or when if the Supreme Court hands down a ruling in June or July that tries to supersede Maryland's law and those of 14 other states. For more than 10 years, and it goes back more than that, Maryland has had a law that has said that a ballot that is postmarked on or before Election Day can be counted as long as it arrives by the time that the election is certified, which is the Friday after Election Day. This is really important for our troops abroad, for people who may be traveling, and now with the unreliability, unfortunately, and understaffing at our post offices, we don't know how long it's going to take to get our ballots back to our boards of election. So this bill is going to make sure that all eligible votes can be counted. And here's what it does. First, it makes sure, it reiterates the fact that a ballot, if it's postmarked, and we've also added an affidavit the voter's affidavit, in case the postmark is smudged or unclear, whatever, that will be a backup plan, that ballot can be counted. It leaves it to the Board of Elections to separate a federal race from our state and local races. So, for example, this year's ballot in June and November will have simply one congressional seat on our ballot, and everything else is the state. The governor, the attorney general, the comptroller, us, county executive, party central committees, all of those, and those can be counted, and there's nothing that an executive order or congressional action or Supreme Court decision could do to undercut that. So this says that there is going to be, it reiterates the rules, the laws as it is now. It launches a marketing campaign from the Board of Elections to encourage people to get their ballots in early. They can vote from home. They can go to an early voting center. They can show up on election day. But if they are mailing it, we want to make sure that they drop it at a post office at least a week in advance. They can drop it at their Board of Elections, or they can drop it at a drop-off box. All of those, the drop-off box or the Board of Elections, has to be done by the time polls close on election day. This bill also, there is a problem with people who ask for an internet-delivered ballot, a web-delivered ballot. There are many people who shop online, they bank online, they may date online, and so they think, oh, I'm just going to vote online, and they think they'll be able to click, 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 and be able to vote. And they don't realize that they have to have a printer and a toner cartridge and paper and a number 10 envelope and all that. So it's confusing, and the response rate is way lower. So we are, with this bill, also renaming the internet-delivered or web-delivered ballots to a print-at-home ballot. And with that, these are a bunch of little things to just make sure that all of those eligible will be able to vote and have their votes counted. So the two amendments, committee amendments, do what I've explained and move adoption of the two committee amendments and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves the adoption of the two committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, recognize Senator from District 7.
Thank you. She kind of ran through that pretty fast. I didn't have enough time to grasp it all. Can I just lay it over for an hour so I can study it a little more?
Senator's motion is in order. We'll take it up before we leave tonight. All right, let's go to budget and tax. Report 32. Report 32. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 953, Delegate Buckle, Revenue Stabilization Account, Transfer of Funds, State Disaster Recovery Fund, favorable.
All right. Recognize the chair of the committee. Nope, I'm sorry. Senator from District 2 on the as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, House Bill 953 authorizes the governor, subject to the Board of Public Works approval, to transfer funds from the Rainy Day Fund to the State Disaster Recovery Fund, unless the transfer will result in the Rainy Day Fund balance dropping below 5% of the estimated general fund revenues for the fiscal year in which the transfer is made. There are no amendments. Move the adoption of the committee report.
Floor leader moves the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 953 is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 1581, Chair Appropriations Committee, Economic Development, Horse Racing Facilities, Prince George's County, Blue Line Corridor Facilities, and Bus Rapid Transit, favorable to amendments.
Recognizing chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. HB 1581 is a departmental bill, alters provisions of the law regarding various economic development related projects, including the reconstruction of Pimlico Racecourse and the administration and oversight of live horse racing in Maryland, Prince George's County Blue Line Corridor, and the Bus Rapid Transit. The bill also clarifies that 10% of the annual net income of thoroughbred racetrack operators will be distributed to the Pimlico Community Development Authority, and includes $5 million of the Racing and Community Development Facilities Fund for construction of backstretch housing facilities at Laurel Park. There are two amendments. Amendment 1 is technical. Amendment 2 increases the bonding authority for the Blue Line Corridor from $400 million to $425 million, increases the amount of lottery funds distributed to the Blue Line Corridor from $27 million to $29 million. increases the amount of lottery funds distributed to the Racing Community Development Financing Fund from $17 million to $29 million for preliminary renovations, $2 million for the Thoroughbred Purse account for a training facility site, and $27 million for Montgomery County, and $2 million for Howard County for bus rapid transit, and repeals the statute that allows MSA to affiliate with private foundations. Move adoption of 2 amendments in the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves the adoption of 2 committee amendments in the favorable committee report. On the amendments, recognize the senator from the 37th district.
Just a quick question from the floor,
Question
floor
from the
leader.
Senator may proceed.
How much money was being added to mass transit?
A total of, well, it's to mass transit. So to the bus rapid transit plans, $2 million additional for Montgomery County and $2 million for Howard.
Do we have any record of ridership?
Well, it's being developed.
So, okay, so it hasn't been put in place yet. And then there's money for Pimlico, correct?
Correct.
And then what is the increase for that?
So it is it's more about the debt service needed to cover everything. This bill originally came in to deal with issues related to debt service in developing the plan that was originally conceived. And that goes from $17 million to $29 million. That's lottery funds. It's an annual basis, but it's to cover debt service.
Okay. Because we'll be voting on this, I just want to know what the bottom line is. So it's 12,
So
roughly
it's
$12 million.
$400 million is the plan, which is
Yeah.
what the plan was established before.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Yep.
All right. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objection? Without objection, 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1581 is hereby ordered passed for 3rd reading. Let's go to 35, Budget and Tax 35. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 964, Senator McCray, Public Works Contracts, Apprenticeship Requirements, favorable 2 amendments.
Recognize the senator from the 45th District.
The 45th. Mr. President, Senate Bill 964, as amended, is the cross-file to House Bill 864 that left this body unanimously by the Senate. This bill requires contractors, subcontractors on covered public projects subject to prevailing wage to use apprentices and journey workers for a specified percentage of the work. The bill also applies these requirements to public four-year universities and Baltimore City Community College and makes changes to permitted sources and funding and authorized use of the State Apprenticeship Fund. There's 2 amendments, Mr. President. One is technical and changes the title, and the second conforms the bill to match the cross-file House Bill 864 as passed by the Senate. Motion to adopt the committee report, Mr. President.
Floor leader moves the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 964 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reading. All right, let's go to judicial proceedings. This is calendar report number 36. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 336, Delegate Addison, Criminal Procedure District Court Issuance of Summons and Arrest Warrants, favorable 2 amendments.
Recognizing the chair of the committee as the floor leader.
As amended, this bill prohibits a district court commissioner from issuing an arrest warrant based on an application for a statement of charges filed by an individual who is not a police officer or a state's attorney, and establishes a new procedure for the issuance of a criminal summons or arrest warrant by the district court under these circumstances. The amended bill requires that an application for the statement of charges made to a district court commissioner be filed under oath, subject to the penalty of perjury under Section 9-101 of the criminal law article, and increases from 6 months to 1 year the penalty for making a false statement to an official or a unit of government under Section 9-503 of the criminal law article. The bill also requires the Maryland judiciary to report specified data on the General Assembly on an annual basis
beginning March 1st, 2027. Mr. President, there are two amendments. Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 strikes the provisions of the bill, makes technical changes, adds requirements relating to an application for a statement of charges, and alters the prohibition on making false statements as specified. Mr. President, I ask for the adoption of the two committee amendments and the favorable committee report.
Further move for the adoption of the two committee amendments and the favorable committee report. Recognize Senator from District 2.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to ask a few questions here, if the floor leader wouldn't mind yielding for a question.
Let's just see if there's a motion from the chair.
Sure, I'd ask that the bill and the amendments lie over under the rules.
All right, the bill and the amendment will lie over under the rules for an hour. All right, just recognize Senator from the 45th.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I could quickly recognize the guest.
Please.
Mr. President, this is a woman that I've been very proud to work with these last 4 years. It's the first time that I've seen her in this Senate chamber, and I just wanted to make sure that I give her props for doing a phenomenal job. Delegate Jackie Addison, y'all.
Welcome, welcome. All right, we have a bunch of these messages. Let's get these messages done. I think they're actually just messages this time. So we're going to start with House Bill 146. Clerk will read the message.
House Bill 146, Delegate Guyton, Environment On-Site Wastewater Systems Requirements for Inspection and Pumping Services and Implementation Dates. By the Majority Leader, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the House of Delegates refuses to concur in the Senate amendments and respectfully requests the Senate recede from its position. Should the Senate prefer a conference committee to confer on the disagreeing votes of the two houses, the House appoints Delegate Stein, Chair, Delegate Guyton, Delegate T. Morgan. Said bills returned herewith by order. Sylvia Siegert, Chief Clerk.
Message has been read as journalized. Let's take up now. We have
Mr. President.
two messages. Oh, I'm sorry, Senator. We have two messages. I'm sorry. Yes, we could read the second message.
By the Majority Leader, ladies and gentlemen of the House of Delegates, the Senate does not recede in the Senate amendments. The Senate respectfully requests the House reconsider and concur. Said bills returned herewith by order. Nicole Alexander.
Message has been read is adopted. Recognize Senator from the 42nd.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate it. I have a very brief point of privilege.
Please.
There's a young person in my district. He was born in Springdale. He grew up. He attended Delaney High School. When he graduated from high school, his high school yearbook photo had underneath it the caption, "Life goal, fly high." That's Reed Weissman, who commanded this Artemis spacecraft. He indeed flew higher than any human being has ever flown before, and they've just splashed down successfully. Thank you for letting me express that view.
Thank you, Senator. I mean, it is Artemis 2, right? So. All right. Let's recognizing the let's read the bill. We have two messages to read on this one.
House Bill 1067, Delegate Guyton, Hunting, Lead and Lead-Based Ammunition Phase Out. By the Majority Leader, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the House of Delegates refuses to concur in the Senate amendments and respectfully requests the Senate recede from its position. Should the Senate prefer a conference committee to confer on the disagreeing votes of the two houses, the House appoints Delegate Corman, Chair, Delegate Guyton, Delegate Boyce. Said bills returned herewith by order. Sylvia Siegert, Chief Clerk.
Message having been read is ordered journalized. Clerk will read the next message.
By the Majority Leader, ladies and gentlemen of the House of Delegates, the Senate does not.
So to consider the reading of the message, it will be ordered adopted. All right, let's go to two more messages here. This is now House Bill 1063. 1063. Clerk will read the first message.
House Bill 1063, Delegate Boyce, Natural Resources, Hunting. By the Majority Leader, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the House of Delegates refuses to concur in the Senate amendments and respectfully requests the House recede from its position. Should the Senate prefer a conference committee to confer on the disagreeing votes of the two houses, the House appoints Delegate Boyce, Chair, Delegate Baylor, Delegate Norwalki. Said bills returned herewith by order. Sylvia Siegert, Chief Clerk.
Message having been read is ordered journalized. Clerk will read the Senate message.
By the Majority Leader, ladies and gentlemen of the House of Delegates, the Senate does not receive in the Senate amendments and agrees to a conference committee to confer on the disagreeing votes. The House has appointed Delegate Boyce, Chair, Delegate Baylor, Delegate Naraki. The Senate appoints Senator Feldman, Chair, Senator Hester, Senator Gallion. Said bills returned to herewith by order. Nicole Alexander, Secretary.
Message having been read is adopted. Let's go to Senate Bill 514. Clerk will read the second message.
Senate Bill 514, Senator Smith, criminal law, third-degree assault. By the Majority Leader, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the House of Delegates does not receive in the House amendments to the Senate bill and agrees to a conference committee to confer on the disagreeing votes of the two houses. The Senate has appointed Senator Smith, Chair, Senator Love, Senator West. The House appoints Delegate Moon, Chair, Delegate Cardin, Delegate Valentine. Said bills returned to herewith by order. Sylvia Seigert, Chief Clerk.
Message having been read is ordered journalized. All right. All right, this is Senate Bill 159. This was special ordered, but I think this one is just a message. Yep.
Senate Bill 159, Senator Washington, Emergency Medical Services, Vehicles, and Ambulance Required Supplies. By the Majority Leader, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the House of Delegates does not receive in the House amendments to the Senate bill and agrees to a conference committee to confer on the disagreeing votes of the two houses. The Senate has appointed Senator Watson, Chair, Senator Harris, Senator Gallion. The House appoints Delegate Martinez, Chair, Delegate Riley, Delegate Kaufman. Said bill is returned to herewith by order. Sylvia Seigert, Chief Clerk.
Message having been read is journalized. All right, we've got a not concur, a not concur. Let's see, this is in business regulations, sale trade. Looks like it's out of finance. Senate Bill 233. Clerk will read the bill and will recognize the chair.
Senate Bill 233, Senator Solling, Business Regulations, Cemeteries, Requirements for Sale or Transfer or Government Acquisition. Senate will not concur. Please proceed.
All right, message having been read is adopted. Oh, I'm sorry, just kidding. I'm sorry, that was not the right, that was the House message, recognizing the chair of the committee.
I was going to say, Mr. President, because we are not concurring on this one. Senate Bill 233 prohibits a registered cemetery permit holder or an exempt cemetery owner from selling or transferring a cemetery in whole or in part to another person. The House amendments strike the bill and replace with a combination of two House bills, and the Senate Finance moves not to concur.
All right, the chair moves to not concur. The committee moves to not concur. Any objection to the motion? Without objection, the motion carries. Clerk will read the message.
By the Majority Leader, ladies and gentlemen of the House of Delegates, the Senate refuses to concur in the House amendments and respectfully requests the House recede from its position. Said bills returned to herewith by order. Nicole Alexander, Secretary.
Message having been read is adopted now. Now it is adopted. Here's another second reading out here. This is a layover bill number 40. Trying to get these second readers out of the way.
House Bill 1557, Delegate Solomon, Procurement, Real Estate Advisory Committee, and Property Acquisition and Lease Requirements. Question is the adoption of the two committee amendments in the favorable report.
All right, recognizing the Senator from Baltimore County. This is the one where we have an amendment. Okay,
Yes.
Let's take up the two amendments. On the amendments, any discussion, any objection? Without objection, the two committee amendments are adopted. Question on the amended report, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Senator has an amendment. Pages will please distribute the senator's collected amendment. right, Senator may explain the amendment.
Thank you very much. As the bill originally came out of committee, it was just a real estate advisory committee. This is one of the bills that is part of the recommendations of the Joint Audit and Evaluation Committee, and it is really part of an accountability agenda. And what it, as I said, as it originally came out, it was just meant to a real estate advisory committee was going to advise DGS on their real estate transactions. That is still a part of the bill, but the amendment now brings back pieces of the original bill, which brings to the Legislative Policy Committee certain projects that DGS is proposing for sale and for lease, and gives the opportunity of the Legislative Policy Committee to oversee some of these transactions. I move for the adoption of the amendment and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the amendment, the floor amendment,
Floor amendment, yes.
All right. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amendment is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill? Yes, recognize the senator from the 45th district.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have an amendment.
Senator has amendment. Pages will collect and distribute the senator's amendment.
A friendly amendment. No.
All right. Senator may explain the amendment.
Mr. President, this simply says that if DGS engages in a sale transfer of a property on Guilford Avenue, that they just have to engage the community and make sure that the community's vision is practical.
All right. Senator moves the amendment.
Yes, sir.
From the committee.
The committee accepts this as a friendly amendment.
All right. Any objections? Without objection, the amendment is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? If not, House Bill 1557 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. All right, let's see if we can take up this one. This is a special order calendar 96. It's another second reader that we had some questions about.
All right. House Bill 1441, Delegate Embry, Criminal Law, Public Consumption, Open Container, Prepayment of Citation. Question is on the adoption of the favorable report.
All right. Question is on the adoption of the favorable report. Recognizes the senator from Baltimore City? Nope.
No, I wanted special orders till Monday.
Till Monday. All right. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. All right, Madam Secretary, can we please ring the bells? All right, can we do a quorum call?
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. With 42 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland is still in session. We're going to start with Senate bills on third reading. This is calendar 84. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 279, Senator Hayes, Baltimore City, cigarettes, other tobacco products, electronic smoking devices, enforcement and licensure.
Senate Bill 279 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 279 have received a constitutional majority. Is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 411, Senator Augustine, Hospitals, Clinical Staffing Committees and Plans Establishment.
Senate Bill 411 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 411 having received constitutional majorities declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 611, Senator Mouts, Maryland Department of Health Study on Maryland Medical Assistance Program, reimbursement of hospice rooms and board of services on third reading for final passage.
Senate Bill 611 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. 41 votes in the affirmative. Senate Bill 611 have received constitutional majorities declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 791, Senator Lamb, Correctional Services and Public Safety Immigration Enforcement Prohibitions.
Senate Bill 791 is on third reading, final passage. Recognize the senator from District 5. Minority Whip.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we've been talking about this bill a lot today, and I just think it's important for the body to understand and for those watching, listening, paying attention to understand. There have been, it feels like, 28 bills about ICE this session, going back to the beginning of session. And boy, I wish there'd been 28 bills on this floor about cutting costs for Marylanders. That would have been great. We haven't seen that. But this is not just that. Some of the bills have engendered a lot of debate. Some of the bills have, quite frankly, been unenforceable. In fact, a lot of them have been unenforceable. This one is actually going to have a lot more impact, I think, than the bill that was passed earlier this session. Earlier this session, this body passed and the governor signed into law the elimination of a transparent process for interacting with ICE with the 287G program. But this bill actually goes further than that. That bill just got rid of written agreements between county governments, between county sheriff's departments and ICE. This is actually telling local law enforcement, including duly elected sheriffs, constitutional officers of our state, that they cannot use their judgment in communicating with a key federal law enforcement agency unless they are communicating about someone who's convicted of a felony. Or, I believe the bill also has convicted sex offender. Thank goodness that's in there. But it's still, it forbids local law enforcement from using their judgment for how to keep the community safe, needing to talk to Immigrations and Customs Enforcement about someone who they've perhaps arrested or holding that has been perhaps committed misdemeanors, any number of misdemeanors, somebody who's been picked up multiple times for drunk driving, someone who's been convicted of drunk driving, someone who's been convicted of assault charges that don't rise to the level of felony, somebody who's been convicted of child neglect and abuse, or someone who's been arrested and is being held without bail on suspicion of something like first and second degree rape or suspicion of child sex offenses. They can't look and they cannot run that person through a database to find out if there's information about them from federal law enforcement authorities like ICE. They can't run that through. They can't run, if this bill passes, we are going to tell all of our sheriffs and local law enforcement authorities that if you have picked somebody up that you believe is a part of a major drug trafficking operation, but they haven't been convicted of drug trafficking, you can't check and see if ICE is looking for them on suspicion of something else. I think that's madness. And I don't think this is being thought through for the unintended consequence of this impact. We haven't debated the overall immigration policy of the United States much on this floor because it is a federal policy. But I really believe and urge the majority party here to understand you don't want to be on the side that believes we should make it harder to deport people who have committed serious crimes that are also here illegally. That is not where you want to be. No matter what kind of stuff gets thrown onto social media with shaky phone cameras, you do not want to be on the side of protecting criminals who are also here illegally. We can all talk about situations where there are people who have been picked up by ICE here illegally, but otherwise perhaps not committing any other crimes or committing some sort of minor crime. And I understand that the majority of this body doesn't want a lot of people, doesn't really want our immigration laws enforced really much. You don't. You probably would say you want dangerous people to be deported, and you'll probably say once they've served their sentence. But here's the deal. When you keep local law enforcement from being able to communicate with a federal partner in law enforcement, largely for political reasons, you're really putting the community in a situation where there could be real danger. And I'm not a law enforcement professional, and I'm not a lawyer. But my senses and what I know about this kind of stuff tells me we do not want to be doing this. You don't want to be doing this. This bill leaves way too many loopholes to where you're not allowing, if it passes as is, you're not allowing law enforcement to do their job to protect us. So, Mr. President, I would just urge the body to vote no on this one. To vote no on this one. You've passed about 7 or 8 other bills to really slap at ICE. I think this one is a bridge way too far, and I think it's going to put people in danger. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. I recognize the senator from the 42nd, followed by the senator from the 37th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think it's fair to say that this bill is a bill that has been put together on the fly. This bill was sitting on the shelf in our committee until the day before yesterday, and nobody had any conception that this bill was going to move. We didn't, frankly, know it was going to move until we were called out of this chamber yesterday afternoon during a voting session, and we missed votes because we were summoned to the Silver Room, and in the Silver Room we were given a briefing about an elaborate amendment which was going to change this bill and put this bill theoretically in a position to be passed. Some of the members just thought it was a briefing. They didn't think there were going to be votes. I'm surrounded by several of them right here. And they left the briefing not aware that at the end of the briefing there was going to be a formal vote. So I think it's fair to say this is legislation put together on the fly. Normally our committee is extremely dutiful about putting together legislation and making sure that it is good and ready for prime time before we pass it. That did not happen in this case. So earlier today, I had a floor colloquy with the floor leader. That may be the last time I use that term. A colloquy with the floor leader, and we talked about a particular provision of the bill, which I'm going to read again. It says, a law enforcement agent may not provide federal immigration authorities with information about an individual obtained in the course of the law enforcement agent's duties. That's what it says. That language literally will terminate joint federal state task forces here in Maryland to try to conquer crime. As I indicated earlier, our former colleague Eric Barron, when he was U.S. Attorney for the state of Maryland, initiated innumerable joint federal state task forces and has had incredible effect. We just learned yesterday that a joint federal state task force operating on the Eastern Shore cracked a crime ring. And the governor was so impressed with that, he went down for the press conference. One of the members of that joint federal state task force was a member of the Department of Homeland Security. And the floor leader this morning indicated that under this bill, information could not be provided by Maryland law enforcement officers to any representative of the Department of Homeland Security. So that task force would have had to have been aborted had this bill been in effect. Now, the the comeback by the floor leader was the bill contains other language. Let me read the other language. It says, nothing in this subsection shall prevent a law enforcement agent from inquiring about any information that is material to a criminal investigation. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a big difference between inquiring on the one hand and providing information on the other. The bill sanctions inquiring. The bill specifically prohibits providing information. And the way these joint federal state task forces operate is the members get together frequently, either online, by Zoom, in a conference room, personal meetings, and they share information. They provide information to each other, and that's how the joint federal and state task forces can move forward and can fight crime in this state. If this bill gets passed, there is a difference between the word inquiring and the word providing. Again, I'm an old-fashioned lawyer. I may just be old, but I'm certainly old-fashioned. And an old-fashioned lawyer thinks that the plain language governs. And in this case, the plain language provides that if this bill becomes law, joint federal state task forces in Maryland, which include representatives of the Department of Homeland Security or its constituent agencies, including ICE, will be a thing of the past. I urge a red vote on this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Recognize the senator from the 37th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to take a different spin on this bill. You know, we had a lot of amendments, and we did the same amendment over and over. I know everybody endured those amendments, but I actually, not many people would think this, but on the Eastern Shore, I have a large immigrant community in my district. And each one of these bills that goes forward, limiting ICE or saying ICE can do this or can't do that, has absolutely no effect. It's the federal government. So ICE has federal authority. They're going to do what they want to do. And when we passed the 287G bill, it's pretty, the ban against 287G agreements, there was a thing back home, and I got some phone calls from some people, and they don't really talk out front. There's people who talk to people, and they all know me. I'm in the restaurant business, and there are a lot of people that work in the restaurant business, so friends of friends will talk, but they don't really come out front. And they said, Johnny, make sure everybody in Annapolis knows when they pass that 287G bill, now ICE is coming to enforce. And, you know, I was like, wow, that's interesting. And, you know, of course, I voted against that bill, and I was going to come back and talk about it. But I called some other folks that are very much involved in providing services to the immigrant community. I talked to them about what was going on. And they said, no, Johnny, that's not what it is. It's when ICE, when they fund ICE and the resources come locally, that's when the enforcement comes. And the problem with this legislation, as long with so many of the others that try to limit ICE, what that does is it forces the federal government to put more resources in locally so they do more local enforcement. And this only cuts down on communication. I mean, I haven't heard a single piece of evidence saying that the communication between our law enforcement and ICE has led to the detainment of people who shouldn't have been detained. And we've all in this room have experienced situations where our constituents have been detained, taken out of their homes, sometimes in front of their children, where the ICE will come take them from their children and then take them away for 3 months, only to be returned to their family. Well, what justice has been served by that process? And so this bill, along with so many others, and I understand there's these competing interests of what's going on, but I want this chamber to understand every time we pass another bill that limits or proposes or restricts ICE, we're not helping immigrants. I'm speaking on behalf of my immigrant community. They are the ones that are the recipients of the detainments. They're the ones that can't go to work for a week. And when we pass these bills, ICE is only going to, the federal government, I'm not going to say ICE, the federal government's only going to respond by sending more resources to Maryland. If they can't pick up the phone and call the local sheriff or the warden at the jail, what are they going to do? They're going to send $500,000, pay for several more officers, and they're going to go out and do more of these detentions. And when they do the detentions, I'll stand here and pledge before everyone, no, they're not all right. There are some huge problems with the way ICE is operating, but we're not doing anything here to stop that. And I hope the advocates are listening to me, because we're not doing anything to help our constituents by passing these bills. We're inciting more and more of the problems by passing these bills. Granted, this would interfere with interdictions like what happened in Salisbury, but it's more significant and much more important for everyone to understand is this type of legislation is not helping our immigrant community here in Maryland. And for that, I'll be putting up a red vote.
All right. Thank you, Senator. Any further discussion? If not, Senate Bill 791 is on third reading for final passage. Clerk will please, or Madam Secretary, can we please ring the bells? The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 29 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 791 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 900, Senator Reedy, non-compete and conflict of interest clauses, licensed architects, employer workforce relocation, on third reading for final passage.
Senate Bill 900 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 900 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Let's do these amended House bills. This is 58, calendar 58. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 130, Delegate Ruff, Task Force to Study Deed Fraud.
House Bill 130 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 130 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 281, Chair, Judiciary Committee, Family Law, Child Care Providers, Criminal Background Investigations.
House Bill 281 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 41 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 281 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 613, Delegate T. Morgan, Department of the Environment, waivers for living shoreline and non-structural shoreline stabilization measures, on third reading for final passage.
House Bill 613 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. 41 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 613 have received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 963, Delegate Warman, Register of Wills, appointment of personal representatives.
House Bill 963 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 963 have received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1017, Delegate Wells, Correctional Services, Private Immigration Detention Facilities, zoning requirement.
House Bill 1017 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 32 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1017 have received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1178, Delegate Harrison, Municipalities, Annexation, and Limitations.
House Bill 1178 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion?
Mr. President?
Yes, recognize the minority whip on the bill.
I just want to be sure I understand this bill, and I don't know who the floor leader was on it. I must have missed it on second reader.
Triple E.
Just
Triple E for 1178.
I'll tell you. Oh, okay. Would the floor leader mind yielding for a question?
Sure.
Okay. So I have a number of municipalities in my district, and I know the floor leader does as well.
Right.
Some folks don't have that many in this body. It just depends on where what county you're in. I guess I'm a little confused looking at the bill. I'm not sure there's any harm in it, but are we saying that the bill seems to be saying that a town can't make a decision about annexing a property unless they talk to their state legislator first?
No. So what this does, say if a neighboring legislative district to yours is a municipality and they want to annex out into your district or the senator's district, they would have to first provide notification to the representatives from that district that would be affected. So it's pretty much just a notification bill at this point.
Just notification
It's notifying.
that, hey, we're coming to your city, so to speak.
That's
Is that-
right. That's right. So I mean, they already have to do things like, do different kind of things, but notification-wise. But this also adds in the representatives, the state representatives for the district that would be affected by that potential annexation.
Is there any recourse that the state? It's interesting. My parents live in a neighborhood that is just inside the senator from District 42's district now, thanks to some nefarious gerrymandering in the last. No, but in all seriousness, there's a bunch of neighborhoods that are right outside Westminster that they all think. You would think they live in the city of Westminster, but they don't, and they now are in a different legislative district because the line got drawn around the municipality, which sort of makes sense actually. But so I guess in this case, if the city of Westminster wanted to annex these neighborhoods for some reason, they would have to notify the senator for District 42, whoever he or she at the time might happen to be. But would there be any recourse?
Correct.
For that senator or that delegate or delegates to? Was there any recourse, or they just would be notified?
I believe the way it came out after amended was, if they weren't, it could hold a potential annexation process up if those affected area representatives were not notified. So, quite frankly, it doesn't seem like a bridge too far to ask for a notification of these neighboring legislators. It just, I mean,
Okay.
I don't think there's.
Okay. I just don't. I just would wonder about a separation of powers issue what recourse do they have to hold it up if they're not notified? What's the constitutional provision that I wasn't notified by other elected body that's at a different level that,
Would the floor leader yield?
Sure, I'd yield to my colleague from
Senator
First
may
Shore.
proceed.
Thank you. This
Please.
is strictly notification only.
Okay.
There is no recourse
Okay.
for the state official. The challenge was we have municipalities that are trying to expand and notifying residents, and the senator does not know what's going on. It literally is just a notification. That's
Okay.
it.
Okay. No, and my apologies, Mr. President, because I didn't mean to come up the works, but I saw this and I thought it was interesting. Notification, that's good. Okay, I appreciate it. I actually like this bill better now that we've talked about it. So thank you, Mr. President.
All right. Recognize the senator from the 34th district.
Thank you. Floor leader, yield just quick. Because we're neighbors in our district, right?
This could have some effect for our
That's
neighboring
right.
districts.
It
in
sure does.
certain-
So
certain zip code.
I represent Haverty Grace and Aberdeen and Bel Air, and any one of those towns that wants to annex are going to probably go into. I'm in District 34. That would probably move on into District 35, right?
Correct.
So you would get notice, but what I would be a little worried about, unless the bill already addresses this or existing law does, I'd like to be notified that you're being notified. I would like to know, because I may then get calls and be caught blindsided, as you would be if you weren't aware of the annexation. So how does the current law work? And I'm not trying to put you on the spot. How does it work, and how can we make sure that if we're going to involve legislators, that we involve all the legislators whose constituents will have an interest in this important issue of annexation on both sides?
Sure, give me just a second while we check with committee counsel. For the So the question is, if the annexating city, would that senator be notified as well as the?
Maybe we should kick this one. Let's see the senator from the 25th district.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to answer the question.
This is purely a notification, as the chair of the delegation said, and this came about because there is a city in District 24 that was trying to annex into District 25, my district. And so the city of Sea Pleasant, we're asking that the city of Sea Pleasant or anybody who wants to annex into another district, that they reach out to the district that they're going to be annexing into, notifying the person. So if he wants to annex, somebody wants to annex into your district, they will need to notify you.
I understand that completely, and my questions still stand, because I can tell you that annexation is not exclusive to the area in which you live. It's a hot button issue all over the state. Or let me just speak to Harford County. It's an issue in Harford County. The towns I represent, it's a big deal, and the areas that are not in the town, it's a big deal, and he and I are neighbors on this, so we're just trying to sort that out, because it's not a local bill, unfortunately. If it were, I wouldn't be asking these questions.
All right. Are we set? Senator from 35th?
Did that answer your? Okay. So my colleague from District 34's question was, okay, with this, the neighboring legislators who would potentially have annexation into their district are notified under this. Her question, I believe, was, would the person who has the municipality already that's annexing out also be notified, correct? Yes. And what's the yes, because of the resolution that has to be notified to the public, which is in the statute. Yes. Well, you had to request that. Yeah.
All right. Well, how recognize the senator from the 34th?
Just being a very cautious person, I would just like to lay this over or do whatever I need to do just to see this statute, and for myself, because I've been in the legislature a long time, and sometimes misinformation accidentally is conveyed, so I just want that double checked.
How about we do it until after the next calendar?
Whatever will work, that I can just have a moment to look at the statute.
Any objections to special orders after the next calendar? All right. Without objection, the bill will be special ordered until after the next calendar. Clerk will read the next bill. Oh, look at that. It's the last bill. That's why I said the next calendar. Yes, let's take that one out. All right, clerk will read the first bill of this calendar.
House Bill 3, Delegate Schindler, Higher Education Non-Resident Tuition Exemption for Dependent of State or Local Public Safety Employees.
All right, House Bill 3 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 38 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 3, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 396, Delegate Pasture, Residential Child Care Programs, Education of Children, and Training of Child and Youth Care Practitioners.
House Bill 396 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 38 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 396 have received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 828, Delegate Ebersol, State Board of Education Membership, Educational Support Member.
House Bill 828 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone should change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 37 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 828 have received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 939, Delegate Rosenberg, Certificate of Birth Filing Time Period.
House Bill 939 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone should change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 39 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 939 have received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1001, Delegate D. Jones, Election Law Authority at Polling Places, Revisions.
House Bill 1001 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. 40 votes in the affirmative. House Bill 1001 have received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1016, Delegate Pruski, Labor and Employment Non-Compete Conflict of Interest Clauses.
House Bill 1016 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. 40 votes in the affirmative. House Bill 1016 have received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Are we ready? Yes, recognize the Senate.
I missed my button on that last, HB 1016. Could I be recorded in the green?
1016 in the green. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered.
Mr. President, I was going to step out when we were done voting just to look at the statute, if you give me a moment, or...
How about this? I will read some of these. It's going to be very quick, though. We're going to take it up. We've got some messages. Let's do these messages really quickly just to read them through. This is, let's start with House Bill 107. Clerk, read the message.
House Bill 107, Delegate Allen, Motor Vehicles Intelligent Speed Assistance Pilot Program. By the Majority Leader, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the House of Delegates refuses to concur.
So we consider the reading of the message. The message is ordered journalized. Clerk, read the next message.
By the Majority Leader, ladies and gentlemen of the House of Delegates, the Senate does not receive in the Senate amendments and agrees to a conference committee to confer on the
So
disagreeing
we
vote.
consider the reading of the message, and it is adopted. Let's go to House Bill 907. Clerk will read the first message. Bless you.
House Bill 907, Delegate Moon, Criminal Law. By the Majority Leader, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the House of Delegates refuses to concur in the Senate amendments and respectfully
So
requests
we
the
consider
Senate
the reading
receive.
of the message and is ordered journalized. Clerk will read the next message.
By the Majority Leader, ladies and gentlemen of the House of Delegates, the Senate does not receive in the Senate amendments and respectfully request the House
So we consider the
reconsider
reading
and
of the
concur.
message. It is ordered adopted. Let's go to House Bill 153. Clerk will read the first message.
House Bill 153, Delegate Lehman, Residential Rental Apartments, Air Conditioning. By the Majority Leader, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the House of Delegates refuses to concur in the Senate amendments and respectfully requests the Senate recede from its position. Should the Senate...
So we consider the reading of the message. It is ordered journalized. Clerk will read the second message.
By the Majority Leader, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate does not recede in the Senate amendments and agrees to a conference committee to confer on the disagreeing votes of the two houses.
So we
The
consider
House
the reading of the message. It is ordered adopted. House Bill 769. Clerk will read the first message.
House Bill 769, Delegate Wood, State Board of Social Work Examiners. By the Majority Leader, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the House of Delegates refuses to concur in the Senate amendments. Should the Senate prefer a conference committee to confer on the disagreeing votes?
So we consider the reading of the message. It is ordered journalized. Clerk will read the next message.
By the Majority Leader, ladies and gentlemen of the House of Delegates, the Senate does not recede in the Senate amendments and agrees to a conference committee to confer on the disagreeing votes of the two houses. The House has
So we
appointed
consider
Delegate
the reading
Carlson.
of the message. It is adopted. One more. Clerk is doing a wonderful job here. We've got House Bill 1118. 1118. 1118. Clerk will read the first message.
House Bill 1118, Delegate White Holland, Health and Health Insurance, Health Occupations, Perinatal Behavioral Health Conditions. By the Majority Leader, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the House
So
of
we consider
Delegates.
the reading of the message. It is ordered journalized. Clerk will read the Senate's message. It's a lot of conference committees.
By the Majority Leader, ladies and gentlemen of the House of Delegates, the Senate does not receive the Senate amendments and agrees to a conference committee to confer on the disagreeing votes of the two houses. The House has appointed Delegate White Holland, Delegate Riley, Delegate Warman. The Senate appoints Delegate Guile Chair, Delegate Lamb, Delegate Mount. Said
So we consider the reading of the message. It is adopted. All right. Let's see. let's go back to our special order. Are we ready for, this is House Bill 1178. 1178.
House Bill 1178, Delegate Harrison, Municipalities, Annexation Limitations, bills on third reading for final passage.
House Bill 1178 is on third reading, final passage. Any, yes, recognize the senator from the 42nd.
Thank you, Mr. President. My seatmate is on the phone with the staff counsel trying to get the answers to her questions. So I wonder if we could special order this for another 5 minutes?
I think, let's see, senator's request a 5-minute delay. Recognize the senator from the 23rd.
We can take a 5-minute delay.
All right, no objection for special order for 5 minutes. All right. Let's go to, we still got third reading, so we'll take it up after this one. Let's go to third reading calendar number 60. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 624, Delegate White Holland, Hospital Staffing Committees and Plans Establishment.
House Bill 624 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 624 have received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 811, Delegate Wolek, Agent in Place Programs, Grants, Multi-Generational, third places.
House Bill 811 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 811 have received constitutional majorities declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 895, the Speaker, Consumer Protection, Price of Setting Consumer Goods.
House Bill 895 is on third reading for final passage. Recognize the chair of the committee has an amendment. Pages will collect and distribute the senator's amendment. All right, senator may explain the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. Actually, it looks like a long amendment, but it's really just a technical amendment that's fixing a drafting error.
All right, technical amendment from the committee. Any senators move the amendment. Any objections to the amendment? Without objection, the amendment is adopted. House Bill 895 is again before the Senate on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 41 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 895 have received constitutional majorities declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 1151, Delegate Hutchinson, Maryland Department of Health, Study on Maryland Medical Assistance Program reimbursement.
House Bill 1151 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. 41 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1151 have received constitutional majorities declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1243, Prince George's County Delegation, Prince George's County Personal Property Tax Exemption for Small Manufacturers.
House Bill 1243 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1243 have received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1367, Delegate Collison, Commission on Reimagining Healthcare in Maryland.
House Bill 1367 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 32 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1367 have received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Let's take the well, it's 9:30, right? It's been an hour. We had a layover. We have a Senate Bill 949. It was laid over for an hour. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 949, Senator Kagan, election law canvassing of absentee ballots preempted by federal jurisdictional action.
All right, this is on the two amendments. Any further discussion? Any objection to the two amendments? Without objection, the two amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 949 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. All right, let's go to third reading calendar number 43. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 1216, Delegate Phillips, Insurance Certificate of Guarantee for County Board Requirements, all counties.
House Bill 1216 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 35 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1216, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 1252, Montgomery County Delegation, Department of Housing and Community Development.
House Bill 1252 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 40 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1252, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 1364, Delegate Pena-Melnick, Public Health, Mammograms, Arterial Calcification.
House Bill 1364 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 41 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1364, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 1365, Delegate Pena-Melnick, Health Occupations, Public Health, Menopause Provider Training Coverage.
House Bill 1365 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1365, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1559, the Speaker, Children in Unlicensed Settings and Pediatric Hospital Overstay Placement.
House Bill 1559 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1559, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Let's go to...
President?
Yes, recognized minority leader.
Just a vote change, please.
Yes, please.
House Bill 1216, green to red.
1216, green to red. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. Recognize the minority whip.
The same, Mr. President. House Bill 1216, green to red.
1216, green to red. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. This one's on third. Let's see where we are. This is Special Order Calendar 101. 101. See if we have the amendment ready for this.
House Bill 1430, Delegate Chang, Maryland Public Charter School Program, School Facilities Funding.
All right, recognizing the Vice Chair of the Committee as an amendment. I'm sorry. Yes, it's Senator from Montgomery County has an amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do.
All right, pages will collect and distribute the Senator's amendment.
We were missing 1/4 of our body last night when we had a conversation about charter schools. This is a new funding mechanism for our public charter schools that's $5 million. It came in as about $40 million, and it was cut back because things are tight, but $5 million is still a lot of taxpayer money. It was going to be it proposed to allow our public charter schools to jump in line ahead of our traditional public schools when it comes to capital improvement. Most of the schools in our district, and I use the example of Wooten High School in my district, which is closing because of delays in capital improvements. And so if there isn't enough money because they're not high enough in line and they're ranked A, B, C, D, They're not making enough progress. The students are disadvantaged, and yet these public charter schools, many of which have been closing, have had questionable financial practices, are jumping to the head of the line. So this proposal, this amendment would put some guardrails and make sure that any public charter school, before it got this funding, would have to participate in an audit and have a clean audit with no stipulations, so that we know that they are being good stewards of the public taxpayer funding. So I move adoption of this amendment, Mr. President.
All right. The senators move the amendment. Hear from the floor leader.
Yeah, Mr. President, I just want to thank the senator for working closely with us on an amendment that strengthens the bill, and we support it.
All right.
President.
On the amendment, yes, recognize the minority leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a question for the sponsor of the amendment.
Maker of the amendment will yield. Senator.
Of course.
Thank you. Just going over it, you just mentioned it had to have an audit. What did that audit have to, what was specifics about the audit?
Thank you, Senator. So as you're very familiar, because you all on this side of the aisle, the senator, has asked questions about nonprofits and the audits and whether they're in compliance. And so many, we're not sure that all, but many of the 49 public charters are nonprofit organizations, and they're required by law currently to have audits conducted. There are two different levels of audits, and this would make sure that whichever level, that the higher level is what the good senator from District 21 indicated would be likely, and that would be a complete certified review and audit, and this would make sure that they were clean, there were no stipulations, no concerns.
Okay,
or they could get the money.
It just says an unqualified audit in the prior fiscal year. Does that mean that these charter schools are doing audits every year?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
And a qualified, it sounds kind of confusing. Qualified, if they're qualifications, that's stipulations or problems. So unqualified actually means it's a thumbs up.
Gotcha. So just in respect, as you mentioned, with respect to the bill itself, that charter schools were jumping ahead of public schools. How is that possible?
This is a set-aside new pot of money that would give $200 per student for capital improvements. And that's not the way that it works for our traditional public schools, which have to apply, which have to be vetted, which have to wait in line, and they are ranked. And so they are kind of waiting their turn. This program would allow the public charter schools to kind of not need to wait in that line. And as the sponsor of the bill taught me, there is going to be a choice. If they are eligible and do get money the traditional way, then they wouldn't take it from this source. But other than that, this is an always available pot of money for them, which I'm not crazy about personally.
I understand you're not. But the traditional quote-unquote way of getting money is very competitive, right?
It is.
And I would imagine that, it was mentioned that a school in your county is closing because they are not getting money, right?
Sadly, it's been delayed for too long. They haven't come to the front of the line, and now the students are all going to go from a walking school to several miles away.
And is that because the county itself is relying on state funding in order to make those improvements?
So I don't want to get too deep into that because that's not what this bill is about, and that's not what this fund is about. But there is a process, and this new program would propose to circumvent that process and not have anyone wait in line.
This
if they're
program is for a certain pool of money that the public schools are not participating with, right?
Charter schools are public schools, Senator, as you know.
Okay, so the charter schools are participating in a separate pot of money.
The public charter schools are not competing. This would be $200 given to them per student for capital improvement. It's a new program, and the committee put aside $5 million for that. That's on top of the almost $10,000 per student, per pupil allocation that they already get along with our traditional public schools.
Okay. All right. So we're finding different ways to educate Maryland's children, right? Through either public schools or public charter schools, right?
Correct. The problem is, in my view, and the reason that I brought this amendment, there's a charter school. There was one charter school in Montgomery County. It opened this year, this school year, and is already closing.
Okay.
And they took a whole bunch of taxpayer money, and they'd be eligible for more money, and there's this new program, and they're not as stable. They started off with about 250 students. They declined to fewer than 100. And then the Board of Ed just voted to close them. So it's one of the reasons why I think we need these guardrails and why this amendment makes a difference.
Was it just mentioned the Board of Ed closed them, or because at first it sounded like they closed on their own, but now you said
They did not, in this case, and this is just, I think there's a lot of differences, but in this case, and there are about 49 public charter schools, is what I understand. One is in Montgomery County. It opened this school year, is closing this school year.
Okay, but it was the
And
actions
the Board of Ed closed them. They weren't in compliance with teaching students with disabilities. There were a lot of reasons, and so they are being shuttered.
Okay, all right, but it was something that occurred that the Board of Education made the move to close them
There
rather
was-
than they. I'm sorry. It just sounded the way that it was first mentioned, that they weren't successful, so they closed down. But there was something that went through that the actual Board of Education decided to
I
close
suspect there are different processes. I was sharing one story from the one charter school in Montgomery County. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So before I yield to the gentleman, I don't know if you want me to yield or if you want to share. I have one other thing I want to add. A senator just asked me whether this is the same amendment as last night. For those who were in the chamber, last night's amendment that I offered was about compliance with the charter contract that the school signed, and the sponsor of the bill said that could be a 200-page document, and hypothetically there could be a very small item, and somebody could say that makes them not valid, not eligible for this money. So that amendment was defeated, and this is a much narrower amendment that I worked on with the good senator, and that's why it was received graciously. Senator, you want me to yield?
Well, it's,
Please.
it goes this way, but any further discussion on the amendment? Or we accept it as a friendly amendment, or without objection, the amendment is adopted. House Bill 1430 is on third reading, final passage. Clerk will, if there's no discussion, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If
Mr. President.
yes, recognize the minority whip. Has
Just
2 minutes to
explaining my vote that this charter schools in Maryland generally receive a good bit less funding per pupil. It's about a 38% disparity according to some reports I've found, compared to sort of our traditional public school model. So this is a very small amount of money to try to help them with some of these costs, and I think it's a good first step to helping on the capital side. So I'm proud to support the bill. Thank you.
All right. Recognize the Vice Chair of the committee has 2 minutes to explain your vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. Explaining my red vote. I was on the House Appropriations Committee when former Governor Paris Glendening came in with a proposal for a one-time allocation to put public money to parochial school textbook. It was one time only. And that program has continued, it has expanded, and it has now been $235.32 million that has gone from public money to private schools. And I worry about starting something that came in as $40 million because times are tight. It's only, in air quotes, $5 million. I think it's a lot. I like the idea of the competition and the oversight. I'm worried that we're going to be starting something big, and I'm concerned. I vote no.
All right. If everyone has explained their vote, the clerk will take the call. With 34 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1430, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Let's do this. Let's go. We have Let's get through these concurrences. I know. This is like taking your medicine. This is like the broccoli.
Mr. President, are we still waiting on the 5-minute special order?
We are.
From like
I think we're good.
30 minutes ago?
I think we're good. Piers, we're good. We're going to get there after this calendar. Let's see. All right, we're going to be judicious with our explanation of the House amendments. This is concurrence calendar number 10.
Senate Bill 70, Chair, Education, Energy, Environment Committee, Adult Education, High School Diploma Pathway. Motion to concur with the House amendments.
Recommended the chair of the committee.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Departmental bill establishes the Maryland Employment Works pathway within the Maryland Department of Labor. House amendments make the bill identical to HB 297. It's passed by the Senate. Triple E will concur in the House amendments.
Committee moves that we concur with House amendments. Any objections? Without objection, the Senate concurs with House amendments. Senate Bill 70 is on third reading, final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 40 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 70 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. And look, if there's a controversial one, we can special order, but let's see what we can get quickly. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 99, Senator Kagan, Open Meetings Act, County Board of Education, Enhanced Requirements. Motion to concur with House amendments.
Recognize the chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill makes local boards of education, the Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners, subject to enhanced requirements under the Open Meetings Act. House amendments strike the provision describing what events may not be considered pornographic or obscene events for purposes of redaction of video archives. Triple E will concur in the House amendments.
All right, committee moves to concur with the House amendment. Recognize the senator.
Is my motion to move to resist that concurrence?
Maybe to special order it.
I'd be happy to special order it to the appropriate time whenever you'd like.
Let's just do it Monday.
Monday morning.
Let's do Monday morning. No. All right. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 218, Chair, Education, Energy, Environment Committee, State Superintendent of Schools, Prolonged State of Emergency. Motion to concur with the House amendments.
Recognize the chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Bill authorizes State Superintendent of Schools rather than the governor to declare prolonged state of emergency for an event that prevents regular in-person attendance of a public school for at least 14 consecutive school days, allowing a local school system to provide virtual instruction to affected students. The House amendments make this bill identical to House Bill 288. It's passed by the Senate. Triple E will concur in the House amendments.
All right. Committee moves to concur with the House amendments. Any objections? Without objection, the Senate concurs with House amendments. Senate Bill 218 is on third reading, final passage again. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. 34 votes in the affirmative. Senate Bill 218 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 237, Senator Kagan, Election Law, Presidential Election, Selection and Voting.
Recognize the chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill alters procedure for the selection of presidential elector nominees, including alternate electors and for the vote of presidential electors. The House amendments add provisions to account for the National Popular Vote Agreement going in and out of effect, corrects cross-references federal law, requires the state administrative elections to serve as the secretary at the meeting of electors. Mr. President, Triple E will concur in the House amendments.
All right, committee moves to concur with the House amendments. Any objections? Without objection, the Senate adopts the House amendments. Senate Bill 237 is again before the Senate on third reading, final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone should change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 32 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 237 now received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 292, Senator Bailey, County Board of Education, Student Transportation, Sunset Repeal.
Recognize the chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill repeals the sunset provisions of chapters 197, 198 of 2021, which authorize a county board of education to provide transportation for specified public school students to and from school using alternate vehicles other than school buses. House amendments make this bill identical to House Bill 319 as passed by the Senate. Triple E will concur in the House amendments.
All right. On the House amendments, committee moves to concur with House amendments. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 292 is again before the Senate on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 292 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 311, the President Education, the Blueprint for Maryland's Future Revisions.
Recognize Chair of the Committee on the House amendments. Special order to Monday.
Yeah, I don't have the paperwork on that one. I think we're going to have to do that special order till Monday.
Any objections? Without objection, the bill will be special order at the appropriate time on Monday. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 325, Senator Augustine, Land Use Permitting Development Rights.
Recognize Chair on the House amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill makes changes to state land use laws aimed at providing regulatory certainty and construction certainty for residential housing developments. The bill also prohibits a county or municipality from collecting development impact fees or excise taxes imposed on a residential real estate project until after construction is complete as specified. The House amendments make technical changes and add an exemption for certain taxes and fees imposed to finance a county debt. Changes conform the bill to House Bill 548 as passed by the Senate. Triple E concurs with the House amendments.
All right. The committee moves to concur with the House amendments. Any objections? Without objection, the House amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 325 is on third reading, final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everybody recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 35 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 325 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 359, Senator Henson, Child Care Facilities Criminal History Records Check.
Recognize Chair of the Committee on the House
Thank you,
amendments.
Mr. President. In general, this bill requires the State Department of Education to establish a centralized unit for the processing and management of criminal history records checks and probationary employment qualifications for certain child care teachers. The House amendments make this bill identical to House Bill 635 as passed by the Senate. Triple E will concur in the House amendments.
All right. Committee moves to concur with House amendments. Any objections? Without objection, the amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 359 is again before the Senate on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Everyone record their vote. Anyone who should change their vote, explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 40 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 359 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 402, Senator Brooks, Residential Child Care Programs, Education of Children and Training.
Senate Bill 402, recognize Chair on the House amendments.
Yes. Up. Ready? Okay. In general, again, SB 402 in general requires a licensed operator of a residential child care program that receives state funding as legal custody or care and control of a specified child to provide specified educational opportunities to the child, requires a training program for specified residential child and youth care practitioners. The House amendments make this bill identical to House Bill 396 passed by the Senate. Triple E concurs with the House amendments.
All right, committee moves to concur with House amendments. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 402 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? Now, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone who should change their vote, explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 40 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 402 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 523, Senator M. Washington, Department of Natural Resources, Water Resources.
Recognize the Chair of the Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill requires the Department of Natural Resources, in coordination with the Maryland Department of the Environment, to create and maintain a list of vernal pools in the state. The bill establishes related requirements for DNR. The House amendment simply subtitled the bill to be the Jack Cover Vernal Pools Act of 2006, and Triple E concurs with the House amendments.
All right. The committee moves to concur with the House amendments with the naming. Objections? Seeing none, the amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 523 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Everyone recorded their vote. Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. Oh, Lordy. With 41 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 523 have received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 535, Senator King, County Board of Library Trustees, membership.
Recognize the Chair for the House amendments.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. The bill authorizes the County Board of Library Trustees to provide for the selection of a student member. The bill also establishes the qualifications, term of office, and voting rights of the student member if selected. House amendments make this bill identical to House Bill 586 as passed by the Senate. Triple E will concur with the House amendments.
All right, committee moves to concur with the House amendments. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 535 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Does everyone record their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 535 have received the constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 685, Senator Gao, State Department of Education, Sexual Abuse and Sexual Misconduct Model to Response Party.
Recognize the chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill requires State Department of Education to develop a model sexual abuse and sexual misconduct response policy that includes specified components to be used by a local school system. The House amendments make clarifying changes, prohibit a model response policy from impeding or compromising relevant entities from conducting an investigation into an allegation of sexual abuse or sexual misconduct. With that, Mr. President, Triple E will concur in the House amendments.
All right, committee moves to concur with the House amendments. Any objections? Without objection, the amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 685 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 685 have received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Let's take up the 5 minutes. Special order, this is 1178. 1178, clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 1178, Delegate Harrison, Municipalities Annexation.
Fourth time's the charm. Yes, recognize Senator from the 34th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to defer to my good friend from Prince George's County to find out how he would like to. We have ordered an amendment. The amendment is considered friendly. The information I got earlier was not correct. It is not in the statute. Some have told me it might be in regulation, but we weren't able to determine that. So I would defer to my good friend as to how you'd like to proceed on the amendment, if that's okay with you, Mr. President.
So I guess special order for...
Mr. President, do we have much more work to do today?
A little bit, probably 20 minutes.
I know she's waiting on the amendment. It's a friendly amendment that we were willing to agree to. Can we just?
Let's try. We'll hold on to it again. Let's just see. Any objection? 20 minutes. 20 minutes without objection.
Thank you.
So ordered. All right. Let's go to B&T. B&T, budget and taxation, concurrence calendar. Clerk, this is number 11, concurrence calendar number 11. Clerk, read the first bill.
Senate Bill 168, Senator Watson, study evaluate blockchain-based real property.
Thank you, Mr. President. The amendment adds leases to the scope of the study and adds Maryland Legal Services Public Justice Center and Maryland Blockchain Association to the study. We concur.
All right, the committee moves to concur with the House amendments. Any objections? Without objection, the Senate concurs with the House amendments. Senate Bill 168 again before the Senate on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Everyone recorded their vote. Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 168 have received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 378, Senator Kazoni, Education Regional Resource Centers, County Libraries Funding.
Recognize Chair of the Committee.
Amendment makes alterations to the Young Readers Matching Grant Program. Specifically, amendments remove the requirement that the program grants be matching grants, increases the mandatory appropriation
All right, Senators,
from
a little bit loud,
to
a little loud,
450.
please.
We concur.
All right, Senators, committee moves to adopt the House amendments. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the House amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 378 is on third reading, final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Everyone record their vote. Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 39 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 378, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 734, Senator Lewis Young, State Retirement Pension System Administration and Clarification.
Recognize the chair.
House amendments update provisions related to immediate vesting for certain positions. The same amendments were added. The cross-file passed the Senate. We concur.
All right, committee moves to concur. Any objections? Without objection, the amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 734 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Does everyone record their vote? Anyone should change their vote, explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 40 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 734 have received the constitutional majority is declared passed. Let's go to number 12, calendar 12, concurrence calendar 12. Clerk, read the bill.
Senate Bill 638, Senator Quarterman, Natural Resources, Maryland Heritage Areas Authority.
Recognize the chair of the committee.
House amendments make technical changes, increases the amount from $3 million to $9 million of the state's share of POS funds that may be transferred by the appropriation in the state budget or by the budget amendment to the MHAA financing fund. We concur.
All right, chair moves to concur with the House amendments. Any objections? Without objection, the Senate concurs with the House amendments. Senate Bill 638 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Does everyone record their vote? Anyone should change their vote, explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. 39 votes in the affirmative. Senate Bill 638, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Let's pull up number 14. Concurrence 14. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 641, Senator Quarterman, State Procurement Exceptions, Historic Preservation Services.
Recognizing the chair of the committee.
The House amendments require exempt contracts to use third-party firms, require the contracts to be procured in compliance with the state's Minority Business Enterprise Program. We concur.
All right. Committee moves to concur with the House amendments. Any objections? Without objection, the amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 641 is on third reading again for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? And should change their vote, explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 41 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 641 have received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Let's go to 15. Concurrence calendar 15. Judicial proceedings.
Senate Bill 298, Senator Henson, Department of General Services, Maryland Capitol Police.
Recognize chair of the committee.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. The bill alters and expands the jurisdiction of the Department of General Services and the Maryland Capitol Police. JPR moves to concur.
All right. On the amendments, any objection to the House amendments? Without objection, the amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 298 is on third reading again for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
So everyone record their vote. Anyone should change their vote, explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 298 have received constitutional majorities to declare passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 346, Senator Wildstreicher, Civil Action Violation of Constitutional Rights.
Recognized chair of the committee.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. The House made some technical changes to the purpose paragraph in the title and added language that allows the aggrieved party to bring an action against the covered officer that deprives or causes or allows the aggrieved party to be deprived of a right, privilege, immunity under law. The Senate already has passed HB 351 with identical language. JPR moves to concur.
JPR moves to concur with the House amendments. Any objection? Without objection, the amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 346 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Does everyone record their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 31 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 346 have received the constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 540, Chair Judicial Proceedings, Home Detention Monitoring Agencies, Promotion and Solicitation of Business.
Recognized chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. The House amendments make the bill identical to its cross-file House Bill 899, which has already passed the Senate by making the prohibition apply only to the agents and employees of home detention monitoring agencies. JPR moves to concur.
Committee moves to concur with House amendments. Any objections? Without objection, the amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 540 is again before us on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Does everyone record their vote? Anyone should change their vote, explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 540 have received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 747, Senator McKay, condominiums, unit owner responsibility for damage or destruction, mandatory insurance coverage.
Recognize the chair of the committee.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. As amended by the House, the bill now prohibits the bylaws of a condominium by requiring a unit owner to maintain an insurance policy that includes coverage in excess of the minimum requirements under the bill. The cross-file HB 469 did not receive a vote in the House. JPR moves to concur.
All right, the committee moves to concur with House amendments. Any objections? Without objection, the amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 747 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Everyone record their vote. Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. 41 votes in the affirmative. Oh, well, missed some. 41 votes in the affirmative. Senate Bill 747 never received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. All right, let's go to 13. 13. This is out of finance. I know the chair is so thrilled right now.
Senate Bill 438, Senator Jackson, commercial law, self-service storage facilities.
Recognize the chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 438 prohibits an occupant from using a self-service storage facility beyond the term of rental agreement after the operator occupant has delivered. The House amendments are technical and conforming. Move to concur.
All right, the chair moves to concur. Any objections? Without objection, the Senate concurs with House amendments. Senate Bill 438 is on third reading, final passage. Again, any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Everyone record their vote. Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 438 have received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 469, Senator Hayes, Maryland Automobile Insurance Fund Affordability Program.
Recognize the chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 469 reduces from 3% to 1% the cap on assessment. The House amendments make a technical correction to the purpose paragraph. Move to concur.
Chair moves to concur with House amendments. Any objections? Without objection, the Senate concurs with House amendments. Senate Bill 469 is again before us on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Everyone recorded their vote. Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. 42 votes in the affirmative. Senate Bill 469 have received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 582, Senator Jennings, Consumer Protection, Unsolicited Loans.
Recognize the chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 582 is amended, generally prohibits a person from sending a check to an individual if it's sent in connection with an unsolicited offer. The House amendment adds an exception for certain offers regulated under the Federal Fair Credit Reporting Act. Move to concur.
Chair moves to concur with the House amendments. Any objections? Without objection, the House amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 582 is again before us on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 582 have received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 783, Senator Jackson, Credit Unions, Mergers and Consolidations.
Recognize the chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 783 makes a vote to approve a merger by members of a surviving credit union optional instead of mandatory. The House amendments are technical. Move to concur.
Chair moves to concur with the House amendments. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the House amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 783 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 783 have received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. We got one more in B and T of concurrences. This is 16. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 163, Senator West, Income Tax Addition Modification for Federal Taxes and Income.
Recognize chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. The House amendments strike the language of the bill that requires a comptroller to conduct a study and issue a report. We concur.
All right, moves to concur with the House amendments. Any objections? Without objection, the Senate concurs with the House amendments. Senate Bill 163 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Does everyone record their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. 41 votes in the affirmative. All right. 41 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 163 having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 309, Senator Jennings, Sales and Use Tax, Precious Metal, Bullion, or Coins.
Uh-oh. Recognize chair.
Thank you, Mr. President. The House amendments remove Baltimore City Convention Center from the exemption. We concur.
Chair moves to concur with the House amendments. Any objections? Without objection, the House amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 309 is again before us on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Senator recorded their vote. Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 309 have received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 468, Senator King, local government grant for recipients of state child care tax.
Senate Bill 468, recognize the chair.
Thank you, Mr. President. This amendment was a request of the comptroller of both houses add the same amendment to the respective bills. We concur.
All right, Chair moves to concur with House amendments. Any objections? Without objection, the Senate concurs with House amendments. Senate Bill 468 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Senator recorded their vote. Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 468 have received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. If there's no objections, would like to be recorded in the green on Senate Bill 747. Any objections? Without objections, so ordered. It's the first time in 7 years. Yep. Yes, the Senator from Baltimore County.
Thank you. I'd like to be recorded in the green on Senate Bill 70 and Senate Bill 402, please.
70 and 402 in
Thank
the
you.
green. Any objections? Without objections, so ordered. We've got a favorable report. Well, hold on. Let's do this. Let's do the special order. Don't we have the? Are we ready for that? Okay. This is 1178. Fourth time's a try.
Casey's up at bat. Thank you so much for your indulgence. I also really call out E. He's a veteran staffer who we all just saw recently, was extremely helpful to me. My compliments to you and the senators. So we have an amendment that I'd like
The excellent
to
page will collect
provide.
and distribute the Senator's amendment
Yes,
on
sir.
House Bill 1178.
It should be, let's see, I don't have my glasses, 363.
Oh, we're good.
Six,
We're
oh, you're
We're
good?
Just give us
Good.
one moment.
Thank
We're going to
God.
load it up.
Uh-huh.
Senator, feel free to explain the amendment.
Yes, as we discussed, this would just allow for notification to both legislative districts. I would ask if the floor leader would view that as a friendly amendment, or how would
Senators
you like to proceed?
Move the amendment. Let's hear from the
I
floor
move
leader.
the amendment.
Any object?
Mr. President, we stay till midnight. Will they throw balloons and confetti and stuff
I
tonight?
wish, right.
So I appreciate the body's patience with this, and appreciate the senator from District 34 and the committee staff working through this. Take it as a friendly, clarifying amendment.
Excellent. All right. Without any objections to the amendment? Without objection, the amendment is adopted. House Bill 1178 is on third reading, final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Everyone recorded their vote. Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. Oh, with 42 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1178 have received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. We just got to get some of these amendments on. Special order number 97.
House
read the
Bill,
bill.
House Bill 1326, Delegate Wilson, Child Abuse and Neglect, Disclosure of Reports and Records. Question is the adoption of the favorable report.
Question is on the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion of the report? Any objections to the report? Without objection, the committee report is adopted. Believe we have an amendment. Recognize the...
Sorry, yes, a lot coming at me. Thank you so much for your indulgence. Yes, I have an amendment. If I can provide that to the...
All right, pages will
thank you.
collect and distribute the senator's amendment. Give us just a moment to make sure we get the right one on there.
Yeah.
1326. All right, Senator may explain the amendment.
Yes, thank you. As you know, the bill is permissive for allowing some additional information to be shared from the Department of Human Services in the context of employment and volunteerism. We work with the department, and this amendment makes sure that the information to be shared would only be a finalized finding of child abuse or neglect and nothing involving an ongoing investigation. So we would move the amendment, which I believe is acceptable to the other senator.
All right. Senators, move the amendment. Any objection to the amendment? Any objection to the amendment? Without objection, the amendment is adopted. Are there any further amendments? to the bill or its title? Well, I mean, recognize the minority leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I make a motion that we suspend the rules for 2 readings in one day on this piece of legislation.
Senators move to suspend the rules for 2 readings one day. Are there any objections? Without objection, the amendment is, or excuse me, the motion is adopted. The rules having been suspended, we'll have 2 readings on one day for this House bill that does not need to be printed. So, House Bill 1326 now on 3rd reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. Oh my gosh. Thank you. It's a sign. All right, 42 votes in the affirmative. House Bill 1326 ever received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Let's go to Special Order Calendar 98.
House Bill 14, Delegate Foley, County Board of Education, bullying, harassment, or intimidation, information collection and reporting requirements, bills on 3rd reading for final passage.
I think we're waiting for an amendment. Are we all right here? Yes, recognize Senator from the 22nd.
Yes, Mr. President. My questions have been answered.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Bill remains on 3rd reading. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 40 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 14 ever received a constitutional majority is declared passed. No, I think we have to do a reconsideration. If recognize Vice Chair of Budget and Tax.
Excuse me, could I get my microphone up? Thanks. The charter school facility bill that we passed, the slightly incorrect amendment was adopted, and so I want to reconsider the vote by which we passed on 3rd reader, so it can be amended.
All right, Chair, the Senators move to reconsider the vote by which the bill passed 3rd reading. Any objections? The bill number is House Bill
1430.
1430, House Bill 1430. Any objections to the motion to reconsider the vote by which it passed 3rd reading? Without objection, the motion carries. Now would like to, we have to reconsider another vote.
This is essentially the same amendment. There's a technical difference, and I'd like to move.
Before we get that, let's get it up on the board.
Yep.
This is 1430. We have the prior amendment. The prior amendment has to be reconsidered.
We'd like to move, consider the motion, the vote by which it was, by which the prior amendment was approved.
All right, the maker of the amendment has moved to reconsider the vote by which the amendment was adopted. Are there any objections? Without objection, so ordered. The bill is still on 3rd reading. Senator has an amendment.
This is a technical difference, and it's a slightly better amendment that we think is clearer, so I'd like to move adoption of this amendment.
All right, have we collected and distributed? Yes, we have distributed the amendment. Are there any objections to the amendment? Without objection, the amendment is adopted. The bill is again before us on 3rd reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not,
question.
Yes, recognize Senator from the 23rd.
Can I ask a question, please? Just briefly, what is the difference between a qualified and an unqualified financial audit?
Yes, so that was the same in the other amendment. The only difference, and I will answer the question, the only difference was the operator may not always be the public school charter, which was the last version. Qualified and unqualified. If there are qualifications, that's what prevents the auditor from approving and giving a clean bill of health. Unqualified means a clean bill of health, and it's just fine. So we want to make sure that our public charter schools are in good financial health before we give them more money.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bill remains on 3rd reading. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 33 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1430, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. I think that's going to do it. We're going to have to, that's going to do it. I know it's painful, but no Saturday, so that's great news. Let's see. Do we have any voting issues before we adjourn? No? What time? $10 on Monday. A lot's coming over tomorrow, so 10 on Monday. So any committee announcements? Any committee announcements? Nothing before 10 a.m. Any other announcements? Yes, recognized Senator from the 37th.
I just want to point out, we already thanked the pages, and they got their picture and their certificate, their citations, but some pages were able to stay with us for this late evening. So, colleagues, let's give them an extra round of applause for being all-stars and sticking with us. So, thank you.
Mr. President. Yes, also, if we could give a huge thanks to the Secretary's office. They've been just crushing it here, please. Thank you. Senator from District 7.
Yeah, I just want to congratulate my fellow Delaney graduate Reed Wiseman and the rest of Artemis 2 for making it around the moon and landing back on Earth safely.
It's just preparation for Artemis 3. Artemis 3. All right. Well, anything else? Anything else before we fall into total disorder? All right. Let's do a quorum call.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. With 42 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland remains in session, recognizing the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate of Maryland stand adjourned until Monday, April 13th at 10 a.m.
10 a.m. without objection, so ordered. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day, weekend, everyone. See you Monday.